Allison here from Learning at the Primary Pond. I am so excited to be coming to you live to talk about my scholarship program. So I always enjoy coming live and sharing literacy strategies and ideas with you, but this is an extra special video because every single November I do a scholarship program for teachers. And as part of that scholarship program, this year, 10 teachers are going to be awarded $200 of Learning at the Primary Pond resources. And as part of the scholarship, there's going to be a certain number of teachers that are awarded that win from schools that are primarily low income in nature. And then there's going to be some teachers that are awarded the scholarship from just any type of school or any type of education background. Super excited about this though, and in this video, I'm going to be walking you through some choices and just really showing you quickly, what might you need, what might you want. So I'm just going to show you a bunch of stuff. And then I also included in the description of this little post, the scholarship link where you can sign up. So make sure that you do that. Just make sure that you watch this video first so that you know what to request. I'm pretty sure I had you request like specific materials in the application, but of course you can always change your mind. And if you're a winner and we email you, then you can let me know what you'd like. So before I dive in here and start sharing these resources, I would love to know two things from you. Number one, what grade do you teach? And then number two, is there a specific area or type of material that you're looking for, where maybe if you won the scholarship, you definitely have a need for? Like maybe you are always looking for phonics materials or writing isn't going so well this year. So please share those two things in the chat. Again, that was your grade level. And then like what type of resources are you looking for specifically? And I'll make sure that I hit on that while I go through some of these documents. So can't wait to hear from you. This document that I'm looking through now is just the catalog that I have in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. And so we're gonna look at like your different options, and I'll actually show you some PDFs. And then I also wanna mention, if you need a complete phonics program that has embedded professional development, all kinds of resources, assessments, I'm not going to show you this here just because I don't have like one PDF for it necessarily, but From Sounds to Spelling, my phonics program, is an option for you. So the stuff I'm going to show you is on Teachers Pay Teachers, but if you want to read more about From Sounds to Spelling, you can always go to FromSoundsToSpelling.com. And if you win the scholarship and you have a need for phonics, phonological awareness, From Sounds to Spelling would be a great choice because it's a comprehensive program and you get so many different materials. Too many to show you here. So just go to FromSoundsToSpelling.com if that sounds like something that you might be interested in if you're a winner. Okay, Marley, am I saying your name correctly? Year 1 through 7, looking for math. Okay, Christy, kindergarten literacy stations, Virginia, first grade writing, Sammy, preschool at home, Annabelle, first grade writing. Virginia says, I love From Sounds to Spelling. Amazing. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started through the resource catalog. I'm going to show you just so you kind of see like what the cover looks like, and then I'm going to show you a peek inside of a lot of these things. So first, let's start with writing. I see that Annabelle mentioned writing, and then Virginia also mentioned writing. So this may be some things that you would want to choose if you win the scholarship. Okay. So let's start off with like whole group writing lessons. These are, things that are really motivating for kids. They have a little bit more choice. These are my writing workshop bundles. So these bundles are made up of mini lessons. Let me show you a sneak peek. So if you need mini lessons, you would definitely want to get this if you're a scholarship winner. Okay. Totally everything just written out for you. Of course, you can put it in your own words, make it your own, but it's also really easy to give a sub. So I'm just in an example of a first grade mini lesson. And then not only are you given the mini lessons in the program, but you're also given like printable materials, little like self-assessments and things like that. There's so much here in the writing bundle. So I'm talking, oops, I did not mean to do that. Clicked on that for a second. I'm talking about these up here. So these are writing programs. Now, some teachers do use it to supplement an existing writing program if they're like you know what, my lessons are just that I have for my school are just too wordy, or, you know, they're not engaging for the kids. You can use this to supplement for sure. Narrative, informational, and opinion writing genres are all included. You kind of like pick the genre, give kids a little guidance, but then they're choosing their topics. There's other types of writing that I do, and I'll talk about those resources in a minute, but this is for you if you like the workshop model, you like to get kids engaged, give them a little bit of choice, and still cover your genres. So they're plenty, you know, even though the kids are getting choice, they're plenty rigorous as well. Mirna says pre-K at home, amazing. If you're just joining me now, what I'm asking you all to do is just share what grade you teach in the comments, and then also like what types of resources you're looking for so that I can make sure to cover it while I'm talking about all your different scholarship options. By the way, I'm showing you a lot of different options here, but I still have even more in the Teachers Pay Teachers store, Learning at the Primary Pond. So if you see something, or you don't see something here, rather, still go look in the shop to see if it's something that you would want to win in the scholarship, or see if there's something that you would want to win for the scholarship that's in the store. I'm not, you know, we're not going to cover everything. There's a lot in there. Okay, so these are the whole group writing bundles. I keep clicking these and they keep taking me. In kindergarten, first grade, or second grade, many lessons are like 10 to 15 minutes. Occasionally something will take 20 minutes. And then of course you'll need the kids to have time to write afterwards. Now, let's say that maybe you already have a writing program, but there's specific areas of weakness in your kids. Does anybody have a writing program that they like, but they're still like, oh, this group of kids is struggling with this, or these kids are struggling with, I don't know, writing enough detail? To me, it always seems like things just come up no matter, you know, how good your writing program is. So the next resource we are going to talk about is the small group writing bundles. Now, to be totally honest with you, I have also taught these lessons in a whole group setting. I just call them small group writing bundles because they're designed for you to be able to like print them, have them ready, pull a small group of kids, and then teach to exactly what they need. And when I say exactly what they need, these follow a little bit of a different approach from the whole group writing bundles that I just showed you. In the small group writing bundles, I know it's probably pretty small on your screen, but there are specific scenarios, like if the writer is struggling to come up with topic ideas, then do this. But of course, in these bundles, it's not just this list of ideas, right? Like there's all sorts of scenarios. If this, then do this. But there's also lesson plans and all the different types of materials that you would need. A lot of teachers have told me that what they do is they just kind of like print everything and have it ready. And then when they're walking around the classroom, if they notice like, oh, you know, this kid isn't doing this, or this kid needs to work on that, they'll actually just have these binders ready and pull a couple of kids and teach the lesson. So this is designed to fit into another writing program. You could use it with mine, you could use it with something else, but you can actually teach these whole group too. It's just very much like, if the kids are struggling with this, then do that. So very, very guided when there's areas of weakness. Oh, Virginia, that is tough. Well, I will tell you, definitely, you know, enter the scholarship, because I have also been in a situation where I had like 20, 25 minutes for writing, and I was still able to use my writing workshop curriculum bundle. So I can always give you tips for like fitting it in the, you know, in that amount of time. But that is tough. Not having anything to go off, that is truly tough. Awesome, Sammy. Awesome. Okay, so speaking of other types of writing, I mentioned here that, yeah, I do some like more open-ended, kid-driven writing, but then I also do some writing prompts. And a writing prompt would be a little bit different, where you would have like a specific question or thing for the kids to write about, and they would write about it. Now, responding to prompts in theory sounds like it would be easy, right? Like you tell the kids exactly what to write and they just go. But what I found, and just type yes in the comments, or me too, if this has ever happened to you, when I gave them a prompt to write, like some kids would be okay, but a lot of kids would write like a sentence and they'd just be like, I'm done, or the quality of their writing wouldn't be great. What I thought would be a pretty straightforward writing task actually was not straightforward. Let me know, just say same or me too if your kids have been given like a writing prompt and you just don't get from them what you're looking for. Maybe it's too brief. Maybe they just breeze through it. They're just not putting in the time that you would like them to. So here's where my differentiated writing prompts come in. And this is for you if you're like, okay, I want us to work on specific, topics or whatever, but I want to be able to differentiate and support my kids. So here's an opinion writing example. I think it's from grade 1. Yes. So you get for every single prompt, and the whole bundle has tons of prompts, you get graphic organizer options. So like this is opinion. So I think blank, reason, conclusion. You get like different options. You can choose what you want. And then you also get a lot of different options for the paper. So like here's pretty plain, right? Like just they draw, they write, but then here's with sentence starters. You might give some of your kids this and they're good to go. You might give some of your kids this type of paper. You might give some of your kids a little self-assessment checklist down here in case you've got some kiddos that are just breezing through everything and not looking over their work. You might want some kids to have a word bank. This is great for kids that are English language learners, who need help with vocabulary, or who are just really kind of hesitant to spell words on their own and they need that little bit of a boost. You can also have a combination of these. So the writing prompts are not just like, here's a prompt and here's the paper. It's here's the prompt and then here are different options for you to be able to support your kids. Now the scholarship is $200. So you could feasibly get this, you could get the small group, and then you could also get this. You could have pretty much all your writing needs covered for the year with that, right? I'm not going to go over the revising and editing toolkit or this complement the author thing, just kind of focusing on the major bits. And now I'm going to move on to reading curriculum. Is anybody here lacking like mini lessons for reading? Like maybe you have some, but they're not that engaging, or maybe you want to cover other strategies and your program just doesn't. Let me know if anybody here watching has this issue. If you're a scholarship winner, the flexible shared reading lessons might be a good fit for you. So let me show you real quick what those look like. This is first grade I pulled. Again, of course, I have kindergarten and second grade as well. And this is from Unit 3. I believe it's one of the nonfiction units. And in the way this is set up, you have a couple of different options for the text that you read. You can also pull your own. That's why it's called flexible shared reading. And there's like a different strategy focus for each day. So like day 1, you read either a text or part of a text. Readers ask questions before and during reading. And again, you have like materials to go with it. Okay. You got posters as well. And then let's say on day 2, we're going to work on a different strategy. Readers try a different vowel sound. So maybe, they try the short A, but really it's the long A. Now you're showing them, you're modeling, you're helping them learn how to try a different vowel sound. And there's posters too. Let's see, I see, is it Tegan or Tejen? Let me know how to pronounce your name. And then Sammy, reading for kindergarten. Awesome, I have kindergarten for that too, so that might be something you want to choose. Day 3, readers can use a KWL chart. So there's just all kinds of stuff in here that covers comprehension, decoding. It's not necessarily a phonics program like From Sounds to Spelling, the complete program, but there are opportunities for you to, incorporate their phonics learning. Okay, so different focus for each day. That is the flexible shared reading lessons. If that looks like something that would be good, you can definitely choose that if you are a scholarship winner. Okay. Let's move on. Okay, so I do like a couple of other little reading things. The guided reading and small group materials, I didn't bring a PDF to show you simply because there's so much in there. There's different bundles available. They have lesson plans. They have books. There are like phonics activities in there. There are comprehension, fluency, visuals, all kinds of stuff in here. So if you're interested in guided reading or small group, definitely just go to the Learning at the Primary Pond TPT shop and check them out. There's just so much in these bundles that I couldn't really pick out parts to show you that were representative, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. There's also like a pre-A or pre-readers version. Okay, literacy centers. Let's talk literacy centers. Does anybody think they would choose literacy centers if they won the scholarship? Let me know in the comments. These literacy center bundles have so much in them. Again, this is one where I can't possibly begin to show you all that's included, but I just wanted to show you one example. So this is like a second grade literacy center version. My centers aren't just like, here's the materials, go do it. There's actually like, okay, like your goals, your differentiation options, how to hold the kids accountable. And then I also include lessons for introducing each center. Now there's more in these bundles than you could ever possibly use in a year, probably. Maybe if you do use them all, please tell me, that's amazing. But the point is for you to just have choices and for you to have guidance in using them, not just like, here's the stuff, but also here's how you use it. So this is just one example of many in the second grade Literacy Center bundle. In this activity, kids are listening to a partner read, and then they're giving each other feedback. Research shows that having kids receive feedback on their fluency actually helps them improve, which makes sense, right? So there's some like different versions here. I always want to give you a lot of options. And then there's kid-friendly directions too. Hopefully I'm not making you dizzy with all my scrolling. So like there's little pictures, and for the kids that, you know, can read this, they can read the directions. I feel like having those kid-friendly directions is key. And helping them actually know what on earth they're supposed to be doing. And then there's other things in here too. It's not just like one activity. There's also like punctuation police, where the kids are giving each other feedback on, you know, how to, for example, read a sentence with an exclamation point using expression. So there's just all kinds of good stuff in here. This is like one file, but there's so many files in the bundles. So again, that was the Literacy Center bundles. If you feel like you need stuff for the kids to work on independently, while maybe you're pulling small group, the Literacy Center bundles might be a good choice if you're a scholarship winner. Okay, so speaking of literacy centers, there is one other little thing I want to show you. These are solo literacy centers, okay? This is what we're going to look at next. Right now in the comments, if you ever have a need for your kids to not work with a partner or a small group and just work by themselves independently, just say yes in the comments. This can happen social distancing, right? It can be maybe you're pulling kids for assessments. I know when I pull kids from assessments, or at least before I was a literacy specialist in the classroom, I would want my other students to be as quiet as possible so that I could really focus on what I'm doing with each child and not have to like get up and go intervene. So solo activities are really nice for when you're doing assessments, because I feel like there's less opportunity for fights to arise and just all those things that can come up. Now, partner work and group work is amazing. When I was showing you these centers, there's plenty of like partner activities. I think that's so important for oral language. But I also feel like there's a time and place for those solo centers. And I see a lot of you agree. Virginia says yes. Sammy says yes. Annabelle says yes. Jamie says yes. Yep. Sometimes you just need that. At the same time, I don't always just want to be like, here's another worksheet, right? Like I want them to be engaged. So that's where these solo literacy centers come from. This is first grade, I guess. So as you can see from the table of contents, there's like a whole lot in here, and I know it's probably small on the screen, but I always like to tell you what skill is covered so that you can find precisely what you need. And so like, here's an example. This is just a phonological awareness game where they say the name of a picture and then they graph it based upon the short vowel sound. These are actually all just black and white. That's, you know, you just print them and use them. There's no prep, cutting, whatever, and the kids can do them on their own. And this looks like a board game, but it's actually a one-player game. The goal is for them to get to stop at the end and have found a word that begins with the same, or I'm sorry, a word that ends with the same sound all the way through here. So it's like they're racing against themselves and trying to cover all these things on the left-hand side instead of playing with a partner. I think, you know, it's helpful to have games like these just because they feel like it's like something fun and special, even though they're not actually able to play with a partner. So high frequency words are in here, you know, basic skills, your phonics skills, all kinds of good stuff. These are the solo literacy centers. And actually, if you win a scholarship, you may want to choose the literacy centers and the solo literacy centers, because then you would really just have, I mean, you would definitely be set for the year if you had both of these. All right, so let's move on from literacy centers. Next up is grammar curriculum. I am curious where you guys are at with this, because I feel like sometimes grammar, I don't know, like there's so much other stuff that we have to teach that maybe, you know, grammar doesn't get a lot of attention, or we don't have a lot of time for it, or we don't even have a program. Do you have a program for grammar that's just like, you know, not, you know, kind of an add-on, but actually a grammar program? Just curious if that is something that your school has or not. So what we're going to talk about now, and we're kind of getting to the end here, is my Grammar Alive programs for kinder, first, and second. Obviously, in kindergarten, grammar looks very different. It's things like learning to, differentiate between different types of punctuation, capital versus lowercase. It's very kindergarten-friendly concepts, but it's still grammar, right? Because you're building on what's eventually going to be those more advanced grammar skills first, second, and beyond. I see Virginia and Myrna, they both have no grammar program. That is tough. I feel like you need that because there's just so many things we have to pack into the day. And if you're having to like invent and come up with things, that just makes it that much harder. So when I wrote Grammar Alive, the way I set it up, I didn't set it up like, oh, you have to like teach this full lesson every day. What I set it up is that you're using the gradual release of responsibility. So like this example is using adverbs for second grade. The way I set it up is there are like little activities that you can just kind of fit in whenever you have time. Some of it actually capitalizes upon what you're already doing. So like, maybe you're reading, for example, a book. Well, it just tells you, okay, sneak this skill in here. And you're gradually releasing responsibility for the students. But again, there's some optional activities. You don't have to do it every day. Maybe some of it becomes like independent activities for the kids. And then, of course, there's like visuals. In part B, we're gradually releasing a little more responsibility for them. I just didn't think that most teachers, and I have not had time to teach like a, 20, 30-minute grammar lesson each day. So I just broke it up into these little snippets that you can kind of sneak in as you have time. And then, of course, I gave you all the activities to be able to do that. A big part of grammar instruction that is like missing from a lot of grammar programs or a lot of reading programs is the application. So in Grammar Alive, we're talking about how do we apply these grammar skills to our reading, or rather, how did the authors apply grammar to their reading? What effect does it have on us as a reader? So why did the author use a period? Well, if we're reading this whole long sentence, that we would lose track of what it was saying. So we look in real text, and they also, the kids also are asked to apply it to their writing, because that's like the whole point of grammar, right? Like we're not trying to get them to become grammar masters, to be masters of diagramming sentences and whatever. What we're trying to get our kids to do is become strong writers. So it's really important that whatever grammar program you're using, you're getting the kids to actually apply it to their writing. So on like the third part C that I call it of Grammar Alive, every single time the kids are taking what they've learned and applying it to their writing. And you don't have to be doing any sort of like one specific type of writing. I tell you in the program, okay, like if you're doing this type of writing, here's how you can apply it. If you're doing this type of writing, here's how you can apply it. So it really integrates into whatever reading and writing program you're using. That is Grammar Alive. Natalie says, definitely doesn't get as much time. Annabelle says, no, it is all embedded. Let's see, Virginia says, I purchased second grade in 2019, but I'm now teaching first. Let's see, Virginia, can you remind me, is it the writing program or is it Grammar Alive that you have? Because Grammar Alive, I do think so. The writing program may be a little bit challenging. I don't have an example of these, but I also have boom cards for grammar. If you're like, okay, I'm good on the grammar, or maybe you end up with, getting Grammar Alive, but you want digital activities for the kids to practice that have corrective feedback that tell them, hey, you got this right, or hey, you didn't get this right. The boom cards, if you've ever used boom cards, let me know if you've used boom cards. I love them. I put audio directions in here. They tell the kids if they're right. They explain concepts to them. So like if you win the scholarship and you really want to focus on grammar, you could get Grammar Alive, and then you could also get the digital grammar games, because those are really good for independent practice. Virginia, Grammar Alive, yes. So Virginia, I think you may not get all the way through the second grade program, but I do think that you should like kind of start into it and maybe go a little bit more slowly for your firsties. And then you can always email me and kind of like see where you're at with it. But I would try it at least for the beginning of the year. Thanks, Isabel. So glad you like those. The Boom platform is amazing. Okay, phonics, one of my favorite topics. Let's talk phonics. got decodable texts, phonics games. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, if you win the scholarship, you can get my complete phonics program from Sounds to Spelling. That is an option. I'm not showing it here. You're gonna need to go to FromSoundsToSpelling.com. I'll just like put that in here in case you want to check that out. Another option, complete phonics program. You can win that as well if you, or you can choose that if you win the scholarship. Linda says, I love the boom cards. Yes, boom cards are amazing. Okay, so whether you have a phonics program or you're kind of starting from nothing and cobbling things together, I do have a lot of phonics resources that can help. Got some decodable text bundles. So these are bundles that, let me just show you. So like each text will have a lot of a certain phonics pattern, and you get lesson plans too. So I didn't just give you the text, I also gave you the books. So like here's an example. Glum Plum. So as you can probably imagine, this is where kids are working on beginning L blends, right? Clam, flag, plum, just kind of like some silly stories and like some informational, more serious stories or texts for the kids. But there's like a lot of certain types of words so that kids are practicing whatever phonics patterns you're working on in context. Now, some teachers like to use the books. Some teachers like to use the passages. Sometimes the passages are nice because it really forces the kids to get decoding. So included both in here, color and black and white. And there's just all kinds of books like this is moving on to R blends. So you get so many books and lesson plans, great for small group or whole group too you could do. There's a kindergarten, a first grade, and a second grade bundle of the decodable text. So that is definitely a good option. If you have From Sounds to Spelling, the decodable text would actually be a really good complement to that. You do get plenty of decodable text in From Sounds to Spelling, but if you like to use a lot of them, these could go well. So I think, depending on what grade level you get, if you're a scholarship winner, I don't remember how much these are exactly, but you could potentially get the phonics program and even some more text. The phonics program also has a bunch of games, but if you want like more games, like no prep games, then I have these as an option for you. So you get so many games here, over 160 games in each little bundle for kinder, first, and second. And just like the solo literacy center games, some of them can be played one player. Like this is actually for one player. Of course, they're in black and white too. Like these are for long E words, like vowel teams or whatever, and they're no prep. So you simply print them off and you're good to go. So tons of phonics games here. Again, this is one that could just totally take you through the end of the year. And then I think the last thing I want to point out before we wrap up here and see if you have any questions is my digital word work bundle. So these are just digital phonics games. If you remember, I said like I've got the digital grammar games, also got digital phonics games. They've got audio, like explaining things to the kids. They're self-correcting. The Boom Learning platform is amazing. So if you win the scholarship program, you might choose this. You know, again, you can always get From Sounds to Spelling, the complete phonics program, whatever you need. So that was a lot of information. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask them. And also, if you think of one later, please feel free to either like message me or come back and comment here. Happy to answer that for you. The scholarship, I believe the last day, let me look at my phone and my calendar real quick. I'm pretty sure the last day where you can sign up is Wednesday, November 17th. And I only do this once a year. So you want to make sure that you get your scholarship entry in before then. Now, if you change your mind about what resources you want, when we email you to tell you that you've won the scholarship, you can always say, okay, this is what I want instead. That is totally fine. So go to the Teachers Pay Teacher store. I will go ahead and just grab the whole link for you now and see, you know, you can read a little bit more. You can kind of poke around and see what else is there. So that is that link. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Good luck. It is always so hard to choose my winners, but I love doing this. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.